Good afternoon, Rotarians. Good to see all of you this nice, chilly afternoon in Yakima. I want to start off by thanking our greeters, Stephen Gustafson and Joshua Shockley. Thank you. And now we have Doug Rich.
Thank you, President Aaron, fellow Rotarians and guests, welcome. Well, you can see that winter is arriving right on time after a couple days of reprieve, so I thought we would just maybe have a light little something presented to us to remind us that winter is not over and we're about to go into a very deep freeze. You're welcome to sing along with this song. I'm sure you all know the melody very well, and tell me if the guy on the right reminds you of past President Rick Fairbrook when he's looking for bell ringers at the Salvation Army. Let's go ahead.
Well, now you have to do that next year, Rick. Next, we have Tressa Shockley with the invocation.
Happy New Year, everybody. Where did you find that video? That was weird. All right. So there's something that every single one of us in this room has in common, and that is that we are here to serve. So today's invocation is going to be a brief video by Simon Sinek. He's an author and motivational speaker, and I think you'll enjoy it.
The Navy SEALs are one of the highest performing organizations on the planet, and a former Navy SEAL was asked, who makes it through BUDS? Who makes it through the selection process to become a SEAL? And he said, I can't tell you who gets through, who makes it, but I can tell you the kind of people who don't make it. He said the star college athletes that never have been really tested to the core of their being, none of them make it through. He said the preening leaders who like to delegate everything, none of them make it through. He said the big tough guys that come in with huge muscles, covered in tattoos, and want to prove to everyone how tough they are, none of them make it through. He said some of the guys that make it through are skinny and scrawny. He said some of the guys who make it through, you will see them shivering out of fear. He said, but every single one of them who makes it through, when they're emotionally exhausted, when they're physically exhausted, some way, somehow, they're able to dig down deep inside themselves to find the energy to help the person next to them. Service. Service. Giving to another, having their back, is what makes the highest performing teams in the world. Not their strength and not their intelligence. It's their willingness to be there for each other.
You may be seated. That's what we're all about. Rotary is about service, and all of you are here because of the service and what that means to us and what that means to our community. So thank you, all of you, for saying yes to Rotary and saying yes to serving our community. I want to welcome our guests. Can our guests please stand and be welcomed, please? Thank you, welcome. We always love guests, so please invite people to join us. I have one quick announcement. On your tables, like I mentioned at our last meeting, is an opportunity to sponsor a youth at the Martin Luther King Jr. basketball tournament. For $13, you sponsor the registration and a meal. That tournament is happening this Saturday and Sunday all day. There's also an opportunity to volunteer, and you can sign that up. Also, a flyer on your table about the 39th annual celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and information about the Peace Walk that'll be happening on Monday. And I know we have several Rotarians that plan to attend, so put that on your calendar. And that's the only announcements for today. Next, I'd like to ask Kyle Rasmussen to come up and share a update on Rotaract, a trip you recently took.
All right. Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kyle Rasmussen. I am the past president of Yakima Rotaract, and I currently serve as the District Rotaract representative for District 5060. And I recently had the incredible opportunity to, on behalf of Rotary, I was one of 12 volunteers selected from around the world to volunteer at the COP28 conference in Dubai, which took place at the end of November and early December. I was there for about 2.5 weeks in Dubai, and I met so many amazing people, had so many great experiences, learned a lot, learned so much about different sustainability programs and technology and things like that. It was really, really amazing. But I think the biggest part for me that I took away from it was just how many incredible Rotarians there are, how many incredible Rotaractors there are around the world. We had such a great time just getting to know each other and work together to hopefully make a positive impact on the world. And that was really just incredible. One moment that really stood out to me was it was towards the middle or the end of the conference. We actually all went out to the desert, way out in the middle of nowhere in the UAE, and we went with a bunch of local Rotaractors as well. And so I think there was maybe 40 or 50 of us out there in the desert. We had a bonfire out there, and we grilled meat and just had food and had a good time. And I think of the 40 or 50 of us that were there, we represented probably 35 different countries, all Rotarians, all Rotaractors. And we just, we came together, we had an amazing time, we shared, we collaborated, and I think we really all grew from that experience. And I think that's just the power of Rotary and Rotaract. So, I think coming back from this conference, I already loved Rotary, but I love it even more now. And I think we're really, building a lot of steam here in Yakima, as well as the district and beyond. And with those resources that I've opened up, with all these connections I've made, I'm hoping to work on some programs as it relates to the environment, which is what the conference was about. So some things that our club can do, maybe we can get you guys involved and get the interactors involved as well. And, hopefully create positive change in the world. So that's an update. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Really appreciate your leadership, and it's really cool to think about Yakima being represented at the international level for Rotaract. Thank you for your leadership. Next, we have Brad Hansen with our Sergeant at Arms.
Thank you, President Aaron. Fellow Rotarians and guests, I will not be telling dad jokes today. So, you can go ahead and clap. That's fine, Dave. I hear you back there. I see you. You all ever have one of those days where you sort of wake up and you've got 16 things on the calendar and it gets to be about 11:20 and you go, oh yeah, you told Marie that you were going to do a thing for her today. Well, we all have those days, Everybody says yes to Marie anyway, so they never say no, and so, that's just how it works. I just came up with a simple list of things for today in history. So, first one, Amelia Earhart today, I think it was, I don't have the date on that one, see, I did it fast, was the first person to successfully solo fly from Hawaii to California. So it's a longer flight than it is from the U.S. to Europe, and she was the first person to make the flight, let alone being a woman. So if you fly a plane or you've taken a commercial flight in the last month, pull out your wallets and hand one of these fine people standing around the room $1. No, you can't Venmo them, and no, you can't write checks. Oh, look at that. Never mind, you can write checks. Just, I think there's a 50-cent fine for anything under $5 if you're going to write a check. Second one, and this one fascinated me. I didn't know it. Sir Edmund Hillary passes away at the age of 88 in 2008. Raise your hand if you don't know what Sir Edmund Hillary is famous for. Hands in the air, own it. He's the first man to summit Everest. We had a fantastic speaker, 4 or 5 years ago, that came, and she was the first woman to traverse Death Valley on foot and was self-sufficient. She carried her own 80 or 90 pounds of water. And I thought that was really cool until I realized she did it when she was 80. So one of the coolest questions that we heard in the room was, what got you into this crazy event? And it was a dichotomy of the room, because she said, well, when I was 9, I summited my first mountain with my parents and Sir Edmund Hillary. We just hung out and we summited a mountain. And half the room was like, wait, did she just mic drop everyone here and climbed a mountain with the guy who first summited Everest? And the other people were like, I don't know who that is. I don't care. So I thought that was interesting. Next fact. Alexander Hamilton, the first U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, was born in 1755. I think I'm going to get a lot of money from this one. If you've seen Hamilton, if you've heard Hamilton, if you've heard the songs, pay a buck, because, the only reason I could say he was the Secretary of the Treasury without having to look it up was I've only heard that 1,000 times in my house with my kids. Flipping to sports, for all you baseball fans out there. The designated hitter rule came into effect today in 1973 in the American League. So if you didn't play baseball or softball as a kid, or if you counted yourself as an awesome hitter but a garbage fielder, pay $1. Finally, we all have those moments where we're trying to do something busy and we're trying to do something frantic, and weirdly something comes across your screen at work through Google or whatever else, and you just sort of stop. And I mean, I was like racing to get here and had people calling me, and it was 11:45 by the time I got this done. But I just took a minute and sat at my desk and thought about the world. Because in 2010, Miep Gies, the last survivor of the family who hid Anne Frank during the Holocaust, died at 100 in 2010. So this one's a little more serious, but to honor all of those who we've lost to senseless violence, war, conflict in the world, I'd ask that every one of us pay $1 today. So I wrote a little note to myself. I said, let us all remember while we enjoy the freedoms and gifts that we have to treat each other with dignity, respect, and kindness. And now let's enjoy the rest of today's program. Thanks.
Thank you, Brad. Next, we have Rick McDermott, who's going to introduce our speaker for today.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to introduce Todd. I first met Todd just before I came in today. He was walking the streets, and I invited him today. So, Todd, come on up. No. I'm only serious. No, I'm not serious. Okay, here's a little bit about Todd. Todd is passionate about helping young people find hope and also find supportive adults like you and I. For nearly 30 years, he's devoted himself to youth development. First as a pastor of student ministries in churches throughout the Northwest, and then in founding and directing 2 nationally recognized youth mentoring programs. In 2018, Todd and a college buddy launched Forge Youth Mentoring, a chapter-style franchise with the goal of reaching kids all around the country, connecting them with caring and committed adults. Todd was born and raised in Yakima and is married to his high school sweetheart, Wendy, and he has 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. And something that's not on the list is he is a huge soccer fan. Sounders. Go Sounders. So Todd, come on up.
Yeah, all right. I'm also a big fan of AC Milan for all those soccer fans out there. One of our great American players is playing for them, so I'm sure you all know his name. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I've had that all my life. Soccer fans, we just don't get enough credit here. We're all seen as hooligans who want to raid the streets and, I don't know, have riots at soccer games. But anyway, thank you for the opportunity of being here. Again, my name is Todd Kleppen. I do live in the Tri-Cities right now, but Yakima is, born and raised here. I'm here all the time. My parents and younger sister live here, so we just, got to come all the time. Plus, we're serving kids here, and so I help our area director quite a bit with just growing our program and getting things going here in the Yakima Valley, and it's been fun. I love it. Everyone in Tri-Cities. There's too many people that are like, negative towards Yakima. It's like, I'm sorry, I like Tri-Cities, but it's just a bunch of brown, dirty hills with the wind blowing all the time. You say that's better than Yakima? Dude, come on. Anyway, well, good to be here. So let me, I'm going to jump right in here, and I guess I do have the control of this. So again, just that we are Forward Youth Mentoring, started in 2018. Our goal with this is really to build a program that can be taken any place, anywhere around the country, and really for that matter, anywhere around the world, as we are kind of working on some different connections that may take us to different countries in the near future, which will be a lot of fun. But being able to go into a town and stir up people to become intentional mentors for kids in need. Every community around the globe, for that matter, is facing a crisis. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun here. I've had a good time working with young people, and hopefully it won't make me too sarcastic, when we're here, because they like to have fun that way. All right, let me ask you this question here. What was your childhood like growing up, right? What were things like in your life? What kind of things did you participate in? What were your interests, your loves, man? What did you spend your time doing when you were growing up, in school and out? All right, let me ask you then this question. How have things changed from your childhood? All right, okay, for those of us in the older category, right, it's dramatic. I mean, it's interesting to think if you're 100 years old, what was life like at your birth compared to today? Horseback, horse-drawn carriages to now space. I have a good friend down in Tri-Cities who he was a part of the project that is that satellite orbiting the sun and getting these first ever photos and measurements, stuff like that. I mean, it's like the world has changed just a little bit, right? From horse and carriage to these satellites going around the universe and universes, seems like. So things have changed a bit, but how have things changed, if you're a kid and you are trying to grow up and be a successful adult? How have things changed that way? And then his final question I had of just kind of getting us thinking is, what if you're then a kid who's in poverty? How does that affect the childhood that you're raised in? I was raised in more of a kind of the low middle class. So we didn't have a lot of money, but we were doing okay. It looks a lot different today for kids who live in that category and below. Things are very difficult. And so it's interesting to kind of think about that. But how have things changed? Man, I will go make this measure all the time of when we go to communities to help people understand the need that our kids have. How many of you live in the same town as your grandparents, your parents? How many relatives are in the same town as you? How many have maybe two parents in the home or had two parents in the home? We've seen so much mobility change the landscape of everything. We've seen different aspects of divorce and deaths and early deaths and things like that have changed and made a lot of single parent homes, and what are the effects of that on the kids. All these different things have changed dramatically over the last years. One of these statistics that's interesting, and it's not to be judgmental in any way, but to recognize how things have changed. A good friend of mine has been in mentoring for about 40 years. He said, Todd, in my birth year, so 1960, I believe it was, he said there was a great change in America that freaked out the medical society and the social, those working in the social centers of America. What had happened that scared everyone so much is the children born to unwed mothers jumped from 3 to 6%, and they were freaked out. Do you know what the average is around here in Yakima? We're in the 40s. Union Gap is at 55%. Some of the communities we work in not far from here, 80%. 100% in a couple communities, which seems impossible. But statistically, that's what we're seeing. So things have changed, right? A little bit different. All right. What is that then causing? Because of the different changes we're seeing, because of the, these kind of things called phones and computers and stuff like that, how they have changed everything dramatically and what we see on TV, what is then that causing in our communities? It's putting our communities in significant crisis, okay? Here's a study that I use all the time. It's a 2003, so people can say, well, that's a really old, it's a 20-year-old study. But there's a reason we use it, and it's especially became apparent in the last few months, and I'll get to that in a second. Hardwired to Connect. This study said we are witnessing high and rising rates of depression, anxiety, attention. You can read all that, right? All these things have gone up. All these areas that should not go up in our young people's lives are shooting through the roof. Why in the world is this happening? We know how to help kids. We know what's good for kids, all these things. Why is it that continually these numbers rise? It's this here. This was the conclusion they came to. And this was, Dartmouth Medical, this was YMCA USA, it was all the medical colleges around the country. They were the ones saying, doing the research on why is this occurring. And they came to these conclusions here. There's two issues that our kids are facing. They're facing this lack of connection to multi-generational community. How many clubs, how many young people do we see in these kind of clubs, right? How many clubs exist in America? I mean, even like churches. We're a faith-based organization. We work with churches. How about the church's population compared to 20, 30, and 40 years ago? It's changed a lot. The multi-generational settings don't exist nearly as much as they used to. Second thing, they said that they're just missing this deep moral and spiritual meaning. Why am I here? It's not about pushing any kind of religion, but it's simply what's our moral compass that we can say, you know what, I'm going to say no to that and yes to that, and I can feel good about myself for doing that. Why? Because I've established a moral compass that said this is okay and that's not okay. That kind of stuff, that moral compass is certainly being smeared quite a bit in our country today. And, if you don't agree, just think of the latest politician or athlete who gets up on stage and says, I'm sorry if I offended you just after they committed a crime. I'm sorry if you offended me? No, you need to apologize for your wrongdoing. So our kids are being told all kinds of mixed signals all the time. So because of the changes, we're in crisis, and that crisis can only be solved then really through one thing, and that's just really getting our kids connected to positive adult role models. It's simple. It's not this rocket science, but the results are powerful when you can connect one kid to one adult and get the attention they need, help them to see, discover, and pursue their potentials, what we talk about a lot, because they don't know what they don't know. So if we can introduce them to those things, then they have a chance to dream and to plan and to hope and to reach for something great. And in the meantime, they get to build resilience that they desperately need in their lives. This is interesting. This was a Science on Resilience study put out by Harvard in, I think, 2016. All the research to, again, follow up, why are we struggling with kids? What do we need to do to help young people survive? How do we develop resilience in kids today? They said the common denominator was this. The common denominator between the kids who make it out of the ghettos, out of the cyclical poverty, out of the troubles and the chains that keep them down is they simply had one stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult. Can you do that for a kid? It's not that big a deal for us to do that, but for the kid, it's everything. That's why we're doing what we're doing. Kids need those adults, and we sometimes as adults forget that. We forget that the 10 and 12-year-old lives in a different world than we did. But we also forget that we're all human beings. And like that first study that I mentioned is called Hardwired to Connect, we are wired to have relationships with people, and relationships grow us and build us as well as build our community as a whole. So that's what we're about. That's what Forward Youth Mentoring is really all about. That's the core of us. I want to show a video here in a second, and then I'm going to actually call up Rick and ask him a couple of questions because he's been mentoring for us. But the one last thing I want to say before we kind of go into that is this crisis issue. I don't know if any of you happen to see, I guess I'm going to ask by raise of hands. How many of you heard the declaration from our Surgeon General about 3-4 months ago about an epidemic that we are now facing in America? Anyone recognize that? We got a hand? Anyone else? What's the epidemic? The epidemic we are facing in America today is one of isolation and loneliness. We know it. because we all get glued to these things ourselves even. Okay, it's not just the kids, it's us. And if we want to blame kids ever for these kind of things, just, my son taught me real well, my youngest, one day, and said, Dad, I know you get frustrated about the phones and the young people using it, but do remember this, you guys were the ones that created them. And you are the ones that use them just as much. You go to the restaurants, guys, we're all sitting on these things too. This kind of stuff does not bring us closer to people, this takes us away from people. And if we're away from people, we're not going to grow. And so it's just that information that the Surgeon General shared, it goes right back to that study that we had that's 20 years old. They said 20 years ago, things were a lot different. And in the last 20 years, things have gotten worse, even to the fact they said that one number that stood out to me was kids are spending 70% less time face-to-face with their friends. 70%. Okay, I knew that it would be less, but not that. Anyway, let's take a look at this video. This just kind of tells a little bit about who we are and what happens when people mentor, both for the kids and the adults themselves. I guess I got to click the button, don't I?
Our mission for our Forge is to reconnect generations, to restore hope in the communities, and help young people discover their God-given potential.
There's these intrinsic rewards when you're giving of yourself. If somebody gets a hold of something, when you see them latch onto something and they start to achieve, and when they get a hold of that thing, they take off. And the hope is that somewhere down the line, as they're being successful in life, that they're going to feed that same energy to somebody else, and we can just make this thing go and build a better world.
Well, I remember telling my mentor that if I could possibly go to college, because in my family nobody has really gone to college, she said, yeah, there is a possibility you could go to college. You just have to look.
Relationships grow us. They bring us joy, they bring us challenge. The cool thing is that we grow to be better people through them. And knowing that as we relate to someone else, we get to help that person grow.
The energy you get from the kids is just phenomenal. And also just talking to them about life, you see some of the issues that they're going through, and you just hope you can help a little bit, I love helping people, and even more so helping kids.
I feel like my mentor can help push me to achieve most of some of my goals, keep me away from things that I don't need.
I think a lot of our adults also join the program, they join as mentors because they realize this is fun, this is exciting, this is like, they get to have fun being a kid again almost. They get to show these kids things they love doing, so it's very important for us to make matches based on these common interests.
The most exciting thing to me was he knew how important school was for me, and he said, I've got something to show you. He pulled out his grades and he got straight A's. And that just made me so proud because he knew how important that was to me, and it was important to him.
It's not just a program, because I know that I'm going to cherish this and I'm going to talk to her for the rest of my life. But I really love her.
If anyone's considering being a mentor, I say go for it, because you're going to gain a friend, you're going to learn skills, and you're going to be helping another person.
Jump in. You can't win unless you play. So get in. It's well worth it. If any of these stories from these mentors or mentees touched your heart, we just encourage you to join in the Forge Youth Mentoring and helping change kids' lives. We literally have hundreds of kids in our community who are looking for mentors like you, and all we ask is you just take one of those kids. Check us out at forgeyouthmentoring.org or give us a holler. We'd love to have you join the program and experience life like you've never experienced it before.
Hey, Rick, come on up here real quick. Why mentoring? Why is it something that we want to invest in? I just have looked at it and talking to a lot of business guys throughout the years. Return on investment. If you want to spend some money on something that's going to make an impact for generations to come, mentoring is that way. But Rick has been a great example. I don't know how many of you guys know Rick here. He's part of the Rotary group, and he's been in our mentoring program mentoring a young man named Ivan, and I think some of you have met Ivan as well. In fact, that's the guy right up there. So if you go, oh yeah, that guy helped out. I just wanted to ask Rick a question or two, and then just let him share about his experience mentoring, because a lot of people go, what's it about? What do you do? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But Rick, how has it the mentoring impacted you and Ivan? Okay, there you go. Second mic.
Thank you, Lorna. I can't put it into words, how much I've learned kind of about being a kid again. You kind of lose touch of that when we're busy working, and I've raised my family and our kids are grown, and how can I make an impact on just one person's life? There's a story that comes out that it just came to mind just now. The boy throwing the starfish into the water, and one at a time, and I said, there's thousands of starfish on the shore of the water, and I don't remember the exact story, but the man said, you can't save all these starfish. And the boy says, well, I just saved that one. I just saved that one.
So how has it changed Ivan? Like, what were some of the ways
it's changed Ivan? Well, I wish Ivan was here today. He's sick. He's really sick. He's been out of school almost a couple weeks now. His mom texted me today, and you know, when I first met him, he was very quiet, and he is quiet, shy, and just lost his dad right at the start of COVID. Was when we first got connected, and he was 12 at the time. He's 16 now, and yeah, I seen him open up. It seems like he'll just start sharing stuff out of the blue with me, and we hang out about once a week, maybe every other week, depending on my work schedule. And so it's not a huge time commitment. Maybe an hour a week-ish, a couple hours a week, and that I always feel sad when I drop him off at his house. I'm like, man, I need more time with you. And so he's grown a lot, and you've noticed it too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things we've done. I mean, I was just writing down a list. I mean, endless list, from helping out at the Rotary Operation Harvest and putting together the playground out at the Greenway, and we've done Rotary Food Bank, and of course you can see the Mariners and his birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you just, I guess your challenge to them, and we're going to tell them about what it means and to be a mentor and all the things like that, but what would you say last thing, just why should they become a mentor?
Don't think that I can't do it or I don't know enough, because I'm not a handyman. That's not one of my giftings. But we can play cards, we can go out to eat. These are just a few things we've done. We've hiked the Cowiche Canyon, gone to the skate park. I've learned how to watch anime. I didn't really know what anime was before. Those of you who don't know what anime is, that's kind of a big thing with these kids. Judge Sonia Rodriguez-True gave us a tour of the courthouse. We've handed out food at the mission, just driving the streets of Yakima. And,
so they should do
There's a lot of stuff. We're going to get a tour of Perry Tech, so Tressa, you'll be hearing from us.
Yeah.
He told me first time ever, he said, I think I want to be a mechanic, because my cousin just bought his first car. It's an old Lexus, like 2002 Lexus with no windows, and they just getting it road condition again. I think I want to be a mechanic. So, okay, let's go talk to Jeff Baker, Baker Auto, and he'll give you the scoop. And he said, well, if you own your own shop, you can make good money. But you might want to look at being an electrician. And he said, oh, okay. Or maybe a plumber, because, so I'm learning as I go.
Yeah. So the big thing is this. I'll let you can go. Thanks for coming up. I'll let you go. I just wanted to let them get a little taste of what it is for you to be a mentor. Thanks, Rick. Give me a hand there. The big thing is he stepped out to do it. And we all sit back and usually go, oh, who am I? And I don't have enough skills. I don't have enough knowledge. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, I don't. But you do. You have what it takes. You all have what it takes to become a mentor to a young person. You don't have to be a guru. But here's what it's about then. Mentoring brings lasting change because it's building trust and helping them build their identity. When they get to know you, they get to see how you live, they're going to grow in their understanding of life. Their world is very limited. When I said the question about poverty, how does it affect? What we see with kids in poverty, their world is literally their neighborhood, guys. Can you take them somewhere outside of their neighborhood? Yeah. We'll always joke with people like, how many of you guys have ever been to the Yakima River? How many of you have been to the Yakima River, right? You've seen the Yakima River? Yeah. Okay, guess what? There's a good chance that a lot of our kids, high majority of them, have never been to the river. I have a friend in Long Island, New York, runs a mentoring program there. He says, Todd, about 90% of the kids coming into our program have never been to the ocean. The ocean is 10 minutes in any direction at any time. You are surrounded by the ocean. Kids don't do things because they don't get the opportunity to do things. And when you're not given those opportunities, your expansion of your world is not happening, and you need that to happen. So we help that. We grow these kids who are going to become involved citizens and future leaders. 90-some% of kids who are mentored say, I want to become a mentor when I get to be of age. We're building their social capital, just like was really what Rick demonstrated there. Who does Rick know? Well, now Ivan knows who Rick knows, which means his social circle and social understanding has grown significantly more than he ever would have on his own. That's what we're trying to create. These big numbers down here, just want to show you, does mentoring work? These are old numbers, I'm telling you, and I think the number is dramatically higher. 46% less likely to do drugs, 52% less likely to skip school, 33% less likely to commit acts of violence, and more likely to go to college, more likely. The 130% number is great. 130% more likely to take a leadership position in their community or in their schools when they have a mentor. That's what it's about. What does a mentor do? 4 hours a month. That's all we ask of you. 4 hours a month, go hang out with these kids. You can go sit at McDonald's and play a board game. You can walk along the river. You can throw a football. You can take them to the local mechanics and share with that. All these different kinds of things. That's what a mentor does. We do the work of recruiting kids 7 to 18 years old from partnerships with the school districts and others. Yakima School District is phenomenal, by the way. They are doing groundbreaking stuff on working with agencies and the faith community. I don't see that stuff around the country, and so we are actually kind of spreading the word. Look at how it's going in Yakima. This is something you guys ought to model after your work. We do the work of recruiting and screening and training potential mentors and volunteers, which we'd love for you to be some of those, all right? We will make matches based on common interests. What do you love doing? What's your passions? I'm going to find a kid who's got that same passion or would like to learn about that thing you love so much. Simple as that. Those matches, like I said, they meet basically weekly, but they don't have to meet weekly. Your schedules get busy, so 4 hours a month, at least twice in person. Not that difficult. And then again, you choose the activities you want. We will provide coupons and free tickets to things as we get them from awesome local businesses like yourselves. When we get free tickets to something maybe at the Capitol, they can go and watch that, or they can go to a movie and things like that. So that's what it's about. Mentors help these kids really just go with having some fun, and sometimes that's a lot of these kids need. You may think it's a kid, they should have fun. Guys, I've just been blown away at how hard it is for some of these kids to grow up. You live in a drug-infested home. No one spends any time with you. You're on your own for everything. That's a tough life to live. So, but accepting them, giving them that consistency, and also building expectation in them. It's okay to expect something that when our time together, we're setting these goals for our mentoring relationship so that you can grow, things like that. And then we really provide all the tools mentors need and volunteers need to do a good job. You're not just thrown out there, good luck, thanks. No, we are walking with you, coaching you throughout the entire relationship, offering other trainings and things like that. The last thing is this, because I've gone late here, I know. The last thing that we do, I want to urge you all to do this minimum. Okay, this is the minimum thing I want from you to think about. We do something called Experience Partners. It's kind of been fun because I've had a number of people around the country go, can we steal your idea and can we use Experience Partners? And so we've actually kind of handed that off to some different places around the country. But take that further as far as what do you love doing? A hobby, an interest, your career? Could you share that with a kid? We would bring a few mentor matches out. You can tell us about the career you have, why you're in it, what you love about it, how they could get into that same career. What about that interest? You woodworking, gardening, whatever that is. You can share that. Again, your company, what your company does. Let us bring a few mentor matches out. you share about that. And the coolest thing about this program then is the kids, not just that the kids hearing about this potential, and they're hearing it at younger ages, not just the senior year of high school. They're hearing it when they're in middle school. And so number one, they hear these cool ideas. Their mentors alongside them to say, what'd you think? What'd you like? How do I help you now pursue that interest? And it also gives them a greater motivation for school. Now, if I have a reason, I want to graduate because I want to go down to that career. I want to get into that thing. So anyway, that experience partner is something we'd all love for you to do. But so this is really what Forge Youth Mentoring is all about. We mentor the kids. We give them the adults that are going to help them to excel in life and really discover what it's all about. And we want them to see that they are valuable and they have some great skills, but they need someone to walk alongside to help them accomplish those great things. So anyway. There we go. I'm done. I want to just throw it out. I guess if there are any questions, I can answer a few questions here. I know time's getting late, but yeah, any questions about how we function in that? Yeah. Okay, one of the back there.
I need an answer from you before that. I asked my question. Does the Aspire program still?
Correct. Yeah, they're not working anymore. We work closely with Tom and the YMCA actually in partnership with them. Yeah, okay. Tom Oliva, who used to run that, right, is actually kind of volunteers for us, helps us out.
All right, that was going to be my question.
Awesome program. Aspire was a great program, 20-some years. And unfortunately, it closed the doors. So that's why we kind of came into the area to really kind of fill that void. Yeah. Yeah, over there. How do you find the kids? Again, a lot of it's in partnerships with the school districts. That's one of the big things is we can let counselors know about this. We'll actually give a little bit of a quick training with them on how they can refer a kid. Very simple process because we know they have a lot on their plate. But a lot of them come from schools, counseling agencies. Parents and the kids themselves can actually also enroll in the program. So yeah, a lot of places. Churches as well, things like that. So yeah. Any other questions? What communities? Yeah, so we are actually, again, Forge is kind of bigger, so we are in 4 states. We're 5 years old, but we are very aggressive in getting to communities. So we serve basically from Wenatchee down here through the Yakima area, Yakima Valley, and then we're in Tri-Cities down into Hermiston over to Pendleton, and then we also serve in Tacoma and Maui. We started in Maui in the middle of COVID. That's pretty funny. It's all volunteer run over there, and then over in Phoenix. But yeah, this whole area. So one more question there, yeah. What is the barometer for doing well as a mentor and for the kids? Yeah. So we really kind of use it. There's a few different things we'll say, but mostly it's like this. We do ABGs, okay? Attendance at school, okay? Behavior in the home and in school, and then G, like the grades or performance in school. It's not necessarily that a mentored kid's all of a sudden going to just grades are going to go through the roof like that one mentor shared. That's not necessarily going to happen. But what we're looking for is confidence in the schoolwork and quality of that work improvement and things like that. So those are the main areas, but we are constantly checking. We do monthly calls with our mentors, our mentees, and the parents to make sure things are healthy, growing, and moving forward. And so we use a lot of interaction with the parent there to learn how our mentor can better help that child to grow. So those are some of the minimum things we're looking for. But what you just see is the attitude is just really the greatest thing that changes in the kid overall, and it changes how they live their lives. So, yeah. Yeah.
How are you funded?
How are we funded? I love that question. So, yeah, so we are funded a few different ways. Right now, because we have such an aggressive model of trying to get in a lot of communities, that means we're ahead of the dollar sometimes. So we are out seeking a lot of grants and through foundations around the Northwest and nationally. That's a big income there, but we are looking for individual donors and local businesses sponsorships. That's a really big thing for us. And so we actually do have a dinner coming up in April. It's going to be a blast. We have this amazing auctioneer that we use quite a bit who you will have a blast. I want you to come out April 13th. And that's a way your company can actually sponsor that event. So that's a way, and companies can also sponsor our work in general. Basically, we figure about $1,200 per kid per year is our cost. And that's 1/3 the cost of any other program in the country. So we try to, again, make this return on investment huge. So, yeah. 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 Oh, yeah, go ahead back there. Yeah. We're only between like 15 and 20 right now that are actually being mentored in our program. And so we had started just before COVID, then COVID shut everything basically down. And so we've been just really getting things stirred back up and growing. But we know this, we figured out the number, how many kids need this and would want a mentor. The number in Yakima, if we're saying Yakima is roughly 100,000, then I guarantee you there are 1,000 kids, guaranteed 1,000 kids right here today that if we went up to them and said, would you like a mentor? They'd say, yes, please. And they would take that mentor, guaranteed. But I think that number is probably even higher, but that's the minimum for what we see on all the statistics and from our work all around. Yeah, question here.
Can you tell us what the pairing process is?
Yeah, the pairing process, to become a mentor, you go through an information class. You can either attend in person. We do them about every other week. We also have them online on our YouTube channel. It's an hour-long crash course on just what it's like to be a mentor, what it's all about. So you go to that class. We interview that mentor. They are filling out an application, turning in full references. And then once all that comes in, we do a full national background check to make sure everything's safe there. And then with the kid, we do a process with the child as well of interview and gather their interest. And then how we match is, again, based solely, or not solely, but I mean, a big part of it is on the common interest. So we will look at the kids that are waiting and the mentors are waiting, say, okay, what's that kid's got interest that's common with that adult? And so we find what we think is a good match based on those things and their past experiences in life. Then we send that off to the mentor, the information about this kid, say, is this a good fit? Let the mentors choose if that's a yes or a no, and they can say no, it's no problem. But if they say yes, then we contact the family, communicate with them about who this mentor is, and if they're a yes to move forward, then we meet, get everyone together to meet, introduce them, help them set up their first activity and launch. And then we're checking in with them every 2-3 weeks for the first couple months, and then once a month after that. So that's that process we use. It's kind of the gold standards nationally too. Yeah.
Hey, just a question. So you're saying, mentors looking for mentors. If we look at, say, this room, I don't think it's a secret. It's not necessarily representative of the school district aspect and culture, socioeconomic, and that part.
Right.
I think I maybe represent, but I still have a lot of blind spots.
Sure.
So how is it training from the organizational high level down to the mentors in terms of the cultural competency?
Yes.
Because I think that's a huge aspect. If I go to someone's parent's house and say, hey, I'm going to mentor your kid, I'm going to take him for a couple hours, I'll be back. That's not exactly, depending on the culture, it's a different thing.
Exactly.
So how does it work on the organizational leadership aspect, again, down to the mentorship?
Yeah, great question. I mean, so here's the baseline. The first thing about that question, which is awesome. So basically, can I help a kid who looks different than me, right? And will that kid respond to me if I look different than them or culturally live different than them, et cetera, right? What's interesting is kids do not care about hair color, skin color, your background. They don't. I mean, it's just funny to look at that, and all these kids we've matched over the years, they aren't looking for that. But we still are extremely aware of that. So we are constantly coaching our mentors, even from the very beginning, trainings. We do about 5 hours of training before they become a mentor, and then additional hours throughout the years on just giving them more cultural competencies, there we go, and just helping them understand. And then we also try to keep tight connection with our whole community so that our training, our board is representative, the mentors are represented best we can of the whole community, things like that. So we are constantly putting in quality pieces of training to make sure that we see all those areas. Yeah, I mean, I tell people, look, I'm a white middle-class guy. I get that. I do not understand what it was like to be raised as a, African-American kid in this community. So please teach us. Please help us to understand that. And that's why we've pulled a lot of good people together on boards and that to really make sure our training is top-notch. And we use a lot of national resources and tools for that as well. Yeah, that's good, though. Let me say this, maybe just to close, and if you guys have questions, I'll be back. I got a little table back there with some information. I'd love for you to grab any of the flyers on the table. Please consider being at least an experienced partner, 2-3 hours a year. That's not that tough, right? 2 or 3 hours a year to be an experienced partner. Or if you want to be a mentor or a volunteer, those are all no more than like 4 hours a month. It's simple, but it's life-changing. I'll just say this last as you come on up here, just the interesting thing of why I got into mentoring was this. So I was in Richland, Tri-Cities area there, and I just moved into the area, and someone from our church passed away, gave a bunch of money to each of the pastors. So I had $10,000 to spend on helping serve kids in the community. So trying to think of what we'd do with that, thought, let's do a skate park with wood ramps. And back, 20 years ago, you could have bought a lot of wood for that money, not today. But we called the city, is this okay we do this? They said, well, hold on a minute. What if we actually built a big park on some of that property you have that you're not using? So we gave some land, we gave the $10,000, and we end up with $1 million skate park literally in a backyard. And I love going down to serve those kids and just hang out with the kids who skated. But let me ask you this, how many adults were out there watching and cheering them on while they skated? Because there were hundreds of kids every single day. How many adults do you think were there? 0. Every day. When I asked you at the beginning, what kind of things did you do for fun? Theater, sports, whatever. You look up in the stands, how many adults were there? Plenty. Now imagine no one's there to encourage you and cheer you on. I challenged our people in our church when I was working at times, said, go sit at the park, skate park bench, and I guarantee a kid will come up and talk to you. And so about 3 or 4 weeks later after doing this, little old lady, this is awesome, little old 85-year-old lady, white-haired, frail, small little lady, comes up and says, all right, Todd, I did what you said. I went down to the skate park, sat at the park bench, said, the first 30 minutes I was there, I had 3 middle school boys come over, sit down, and start talking to me. Now, was she from the same planet as they were? No, right? Nothing in common. 85 and 12, not much in common. But what mattered was she showed up, and they want to know everything about her. That's why mentoring works. Simple, because it's unbelievable. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. You guys do great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd. That was fantastic. And a couple of things that really spoke to me. I'm not even going to try to put that back in there, but hearing what, the two of you talking about the hope that these kids have once they realize, oh my gosh, I could be a mechanic, I could be an electrician, all of these things that these kids now begin to understand that they can do and it's possible for them. And I don't know about you, but it made me tear up, that young girl talking about, I can actually go to college. And, for a lot of us growing up, that was attainable, and to a lot of kids, that doesn't seem attainable. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for mentoring. And I know many of you in this room mentor, whether it's through official organizational lines or whether it's just mentoring that you do on your own. It's an important thing to do in our community. As a speaker gift, this year I'm making gifts, donations to Northwest Harvest to fight food insecurity. So we'll be donating in your name there. Our next meeting, we'll have a panel discussion around intimate partner and domestic violence. We have many people from the service industry, legal field that'll be talking on this panel. The week after that, we'll have a presentation on Johnny Cash, the official concert experience with Debbie Horton and Graham Tobias. And then the following week on February 1st, we'll have Raymond Santana for Black History Month. Raymond will be traveling from New York to come here and is one of the Central Park 5 who was wrongly accused and imprisoned. If you haven't heard that story, look it up. Anyhow, we do have a committee meeting, mentorship and retention with Kelly and Erica. Where are you? Right there. And have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you next week.